When you think of success, what do you think of? Money, fame, power? All of these would be the right answers, according to our modern society. And to an extent, I don't think that there are any problems with that. But it shouldn't be a primary focus. Let's discuss the difference between modern success and biblical fulfillment, and why biblical fulfillment is a better thing to pursue, and the greater benefits that come from such. And also, at the end of the video, I'll be sharing one major tip and Bible verse that will change your mind about what success really is. I think a good place to start, however, is first identify modern day success and why it isn't the best. Again, I kinda already identified modern day success within money, power, and fame. And a way to prove that, think of any celebrity. They are most likely viewed as successful, right? They most likely have a lot of money because they aren't struggling to buy food or have super nice cars. They have fame because, well, if you thought of a celebrity, you most likely thought of somebody that you haven't had any personal conversations with, and someone who lives across the country or even across the continent from you. That same celebrity in direct correlation most likely also has that sense of power, where maybe you don't eat the same things they do, or speak like they do, or buy clothes so that you can resemble and emulate them, but someone else probably does one of those things, if not all of those things that that celebrity does. And before we go too far here deconstructing the falsehoods and emptinesses that come from pursuing these ideals of modern success, I think it's important to identify that having money, fame, and power isn't a bad thing. They are all great resources when used properly to continue to pursue your mission, whether that's a business, nonprofit, or ministry, or even just average day-to-day life. Whatever it is, more resources results in being able to reach more people. Another sign that provides that these things aren't necessarily bad is when you get money, fame, and power, you provide value for someone else. Someone is only going to buy a product if you are providing something beneficial. If you weren't providing any value, you aren't going to gain any sort of massive income, and alongside that, you won't gather any fame or power as well. Helping people by providing either goods or services in exchange for money is a great thing, but the overall obsession of chasing money isn't. So now that we've defined modern success and have also looked at the things being promoted as successful on their own not being inherently bad, let's look at why this is an issue and what we should be pursuing instead. Again, 90% of the time, gaining money and influence is a result of providing value, which we have already identified as good. But there are definitely circumstances where you may be providing a good or service that people want, but is extremely bad for them. Most of the time, that is due to being able to obtain more money and influence through negative influences compared to providing only positive ones. So what are some of these negative influence? I think you'll be able to come up with a list of your own after I give a few examples. I'll try and keep this as PG as possible. Number one, any sexualized material, any sort of services, any sort of gambling, any sort of highly addictive substances. I'll stop there, but there are so many more. I think a big trap that people can fall into, especially when trying to grow a business or social media, is that your main idea of what you're doing is overall positive, but some smaller parts contain a lot of negativity. This is not only dangerous to the creator and businessman, but also the viewer and consumer as well. I have seen a lot of content posted, especially in the short form content world, that portrays their videos in a way of giving away money just to help people. But when you get into the meat of the video, you find out that the person they are giving things away to definitely don't need it. Now, number one, I know most of these videos are fake and they are just doing it for views, which is a whole nother issue on its own. But that strays from the point that I'm trying to make. The reason these get so many views is not from the act of helping people, it's from the fact of catching people's eyes with sexualized content as they are scrolling on these short form media platforms. And of course, this is just an extreme example, but I think it is important to note when really doing anything that you do, make sure that you aren't promoting anything that could lead someone into a sinful lifestyle. Again, on the surface, some of these things aren't necessarily evil. Some for sure are on their own, but for example, gambling in low amounts of money or in significant moderation isn't terrible and can be a way to have a little fun. But if gambling is being promoted to an audience of minors who don't have great judgment, can also be a very bad thing. I think overall as well, chasing money, fame, and power will always lead to emptiness because there is always another threshold that you can reach, where if you shift your heart into focusing into something else and something more meaningful, you'll not always feel like you need to get more, and we'll get to a little bit of that a little bit later this video. Now that we've discussed modern day success, its characteristics, and why its pursuits aren't necessarily bad, but also at the same time time we've identified the distortion that comes from people only pursuing success for money and influence and how it can lead to more negatives than positives, let's now dive deeper into how to lead a business or social media platform in a way of pursuing biblical fulfillment instead of chasing modern success. Alongside of that as well, let's look at how to stray away from negative influences as a consumer. So first, 2 ways to be able to put yourself on a path to pursuing biblical fulfillment. Keep your heart in the right place in reference to God and religion and your beliefs. Constantly growing in your faith and staying close to God will be able to transform what you can do on your own to so much more. Just being intentional in your faith in general will help, and always be conscious of what you are putting out into the world and make sure that it's positive and not negative. And number 2, keeping your heart in the right place in reference to desires. This is what I was alluding to earlier. When people chase money, that usually leads to emptiness. But being intentional in what you are seeking will help lead you in a way of not chasing earthly things. Do you want to help people? Do you want to lead others to Christ? Do you want to help save lives? What is your mission and why? Make sure that aligns with God's desires as well, but that will help you lead in a better way instead of chasing money and influence. Again, that will come with success as you help people. Now, as a consumer, it's pretty simple. Learn about what the Bible has to say, and anything that goes against it probably shouldn't be consumed, whether that's a product or service or piece of content. Just focus on the things that matter and trust in God, and I believe that everything will be fine for you. One verse from the Bible that should hopefully change your view on what success is and how to obtain it. Proverbs 16:3. Commit your works to the Lord and your plans will be established. This verse from Proverbs shows that if you put your mission into God's hands and trust in Him, you will succeed. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have success in the eyes of God instead of the eyes of the world. If you enjoyed this video, click on this video on your screen right now to continue to learn, and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed the video as well.